Hey, thanks for tuning in. We are Living Fit, your trainer's trainer. We not only have education courses for trainers to upgrade their game, but we have full on follow along programs, workouts, exercise breakdowns, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for you to reach your fitness goals. Now, enjoy the show.
What's going on, guys? Master coach and education director with Living.Fit on the Living.Fit Show. And we have John Odden. I feel like we have to add some emphasis. His name alone is pretty epic sounding. But I mean, if you have looked at his story, if you know his story, and if you don't, you're definitely going to want to tune in. He started Sanctuary of Strength that is now evolving and changing and morphing into Empowered Strength. And so we're going to get into, okay, what does that mean? What is strength? What are all these terms? I know if you've been with Kettlebell Kings for a while, if you've been with Living Fit for a while, you know that strength is obviously near and dear to our hearts. And you are probably into it in some way, shape, or form, or some level. So that is going to be a lot of the show, I'm guessing, as well as hearing all of the hijinks and weirdness and incredibleness of John Odden's past. So John Odden, thanks for hopping on.
Thank you for having me, Aaron. I appreciate that intro and look forward to just digging into wherever this goes.
Yeah. So I'd like to start us off with just, what got you in. I read your bio, but maybe, the people listening didn't read the bio. So what got you into fitness? Why fitness?
Absolutely. So one quick correction there. It's actually Empowered Strength is where everything started, is the Master Hub, and Sanctuary is the offshoot. It's confusing I'm still evolving, as we all are. We're forced to pivot and shift in COVID. I really took that opportunity and completely just went all in on the online programs and content and stuff. But
so the rebrand is from Empowered Strength into Sanctuary of Strength?
Yep. And I don't know, I can send you my logo and stuff too, but it's actually, we rebuilt. So this is my original brand. You can see it fits with all the Celtic, and it has an E and the S in there too. So the Empowered was built off of that. And it's Celtic knot. It means strength in a physical sense, and it means strength in a spiritual sense. So I got pretty creative, had fun with that too, had a good branding guy to keep it simple. But anyways, the Sanctuary Strength is a tree, and it's got the Celtic root. Yeah. I really like the root system. I'm kind of, I'm one of those Oregon tree guys. It's not, not super hippie, but I'm into all that. And the Empowered is built into the trunk of the tree, and then the leaves are all this expression. So I can get into that too, with all the meaning, to me at least, and where
so I saw that on the site, and I saw kind of both of them interplaying on the website. Yep. So it's super rad. Yeah, very cool.
It's definitely an evolution, and should the roots will be growing, and the trunk and the tree will be growing in new ways, especially into the fall and beyond, of course, too. So it's been an evolution. But to answer your question, and I'm happy to come back to any all of that too. But all I can say is I was always fascinated by the body, by movement, by athletics. Just getting out in nature and playing. It's like I didn't even quite piece that together, and it was so funny thinking back to it now. Actually in junior high, I went to the pro club in Bellevue, Washington, which is just this big, prestigious, the place to go to. And I did a job shadow, and I was so nervous with the train just to walk into the gym. Like I was that kid that was just so respectful, fearful, just amazed by the gym in a sense, and just everything to do with, again, the body. But and then that evolved into somewhat into athletics. I wasn't a diehard. I was good enough in football, baseball, basketball. It was just that sports guy, but I knew that there was something else, and it was much more the pursuit of overall, I guess, general fitness and strength for sure was the keystone part. I kind of jokingly say, did I watch shows like He-Man? This shows how old I am too. I'm 41. So I remember watching He-Man. That shows the only thing I can think of. I just got obsessed with muscles and strength, and it became more in those days like the bodybuilding, or we call it circus training. Paul Chek and JC Santana and guys like that, Charles Poliquin, doing all the stuff on the Swiss ball. So it's like, okay, this is bodybuilding stuff, and then there's this Swiss ball stuff, and it just got really interesting, of course, for a while there. And before the internet was really dial up, and I was reading everything I could, and then I kicked around every other degree program. I changed my major every quarter in thankfully in community college. I wasn't diehard on one track, and I think it was good to explore all those things I'm not, and be like almost afraid. But I would add that suggestion to anybody to just go, if you're afraid of it, like go all in on it. That means you actually are interested and care. That's something that really is going to challenge you. So I did go. Finally, I committed to the degree program, and it's so funny. I think back to it. I'm like, I'm going to be the weakest, I need to be some beast of a man or the super athlete to be in this degree program even. And then I walk in the first day and I'm like, I'll be fine here. I can do this. I'm smart. I'm smart enough. I'm good enough. People like me. I'm fit. So I'm like, I could do this. And then I just kept it just kept evolving, kind of like a Forrest Gump story or something for me that's still going. I'm still living that dream, and just got a job at the gym I worked in town, which was really competitive. All of our degree program in Central Washington and Central Washington University was really challenging. So I literally got on the ground floor, cleaning toilets, doing whatever it took, and then moved my way up. After a year, I was the head trainer, and they were asking me to stay or come back after my internship program down in San Diego, but I didn't end up staying in San Diego and going the medical clinical route for many years while I was dabbling on the side. Again, I was kind of like, oh, can I really, I need benefit, all the typical American, my parents both came from management, came from, you get your job, you toe the line, you ask for permission, all those side of things too. So I knew, I needed to spend some time in there. I guess I wasn't totally like, oh, I can start my own business. I can do all this stuff when I'm, probably wouldn't have been ready when I was 23, 24, because I just shot through my degree program. But I wanted to go more clinical. I wanted to do at least a master's, and I just wanted some time off. So long story short, didn't end up doing the master's or beyond, but I've always been a super diehard education. I'm just that perpetual student. I will go to courses anytime, any place. I love a certain amount of this online. There's always courses or free stuff that I'll dig into, and I'm just that sort of that kid that didn't have to grow up in some ways, and I'm always just tinkering around with some training and keeping it science based, keeping it on a certain rooted platform. But then I'm going out and swinging my mace, throwing my weights around, and I'm really digging like the stone lifting, all this, I call it ancient strength. I'll talk more about that here in a bit too, but all these old school, primal, whatever you want to call it, just historic tools, like going back in history. It's like I've gone far enough into the science and into the meat of what we have in front of us as it's evolving, and somewhat looking into that, you know, or of course I always like to see what's the trends in the future for a business sense or just a general training sense, what's going to be hot. But I almost just don't care. I just keep going, and where that road, where that kind of Forrest Gump side of me is like, I've just found my way into it. And then the stuff, you know, I've just been on that, I guess, matter of fact wise, enough ear to the ground and people around me that can keep me a little focused if I need to. Like, well, maybe this, you know, maybe you should go all in on one thing. And, you know, talking about the kettlebell, that was my big lead in, along with the, you know, I'm a Scottish Highland Games athlete, and basically just found my way through my sport. And it's just been an open-minded sport and such a cool history to the Scottish Games and kettlebell training. Just, that was my first intro into kettlebell training. Quick too is I got kettlebells partly because I'm like, I got to get outside and start training. I'm tired of this gym environment. And I was actually throwing kettlebells as a way to do the Highland Games. I'm like, this is similar enough to this weight on this chain. I'm going to take some time in the off season and actually train this stuff. So the funny thing is I was actually throwing my 50, it was back in those days, it was all in pounds and just crappy kettlebells. And I won't name the brand that it was, but it's just really bad stuff. And you paid twice as much, like for the shipping. It was like, oh, the kettlebell's only probably like $100 for, it was a 55-pound kettlebell, and the shipping was probably like well over $100. So I love the free shipping options and how accessible equipment is. But anyways, I was throwing that. So our 56-pound weight is one of the standard events in the Scottish Games. So thinking about getting into kettlebell training by basically, I was swinging and snatching and doing get-ups and everything too, but I was actually throwing kettlebells. So I think that's kind of a funny story to share of how I got into it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, did you ever break a handle on any of your kettlebells?
That's funny. No, I have done, I can't say I've done enough damage. I still have that actual kettlebell. I've shared posts of it once in a while. It literally lives outside. It's almost like a science experiment to see what's going to grow on that or how it's going to fall apart. But yeah, I'm pretty good on my equipment. I have dropped, man, I don't know how heavy of a bell, at least like a 68 kilo, from overhead and stuff, just getting crazy with Turkish get-ups and making some nice dents. But yeah, I haven't broken a handle. So maybe that's my next.
Well, there you go.
Pursuit.
Yeah, that's I think that's John Wild Buckley's claim to fame. He broke up. It was like a 32 or 48 kilogram kettlebell, but it was one of those things where he tried to, I can't remember what it was, overhead press it or something like that, and then it fell. And it just happened to fall just wrong. But it was also like the cheaper, crappier, older models, right? So it doesn't surprise me that it happened. So then, talk me through. So you still compete in the Scottish Games? You still throw the big log and throw the big weights around, doing crazy stuff in kilts?
Yeah, I started in 2004. I worked for a small hospital, and I was like this kind of extra on the teams. Another guy bailed out, and okay, I'll try this. Looks like this cool event. Looks like a kettlebell. I'm gonna throw it over the bar kind of thing. I'm like, I'm looking for something. I was just kind of going through the motions with, again, that was just a weird time. It was like bodybuilding, for better or worse, CrossFit hadn't taken off, hadn't influenced. It was hard to get equipment. The information online was minimal. I had read everything out there, on the old Testosterone Nation, T Nation, and I was just digging, finding some cool strength coaching stuff, going back into the old Russian stuff, following, Pavel and the old RKC Strong First stuff, but not really, dipping my toe in the water, doing some private training on the side, but I wasn't all in, just working for that small hospital. But anyways, it evolved, and I just kept chipping away at it. And it's really cool how it's formed basically who I, sounds a little cheesy maybe, but who I am now has evolved so much from that. If I had gone that clinical route and been, a PT or chiro or whatever, I probably wouldn't be as good or be in the place I'm meant to be right now. I would have been looking at ways out. And I love talking to my PT friends and chiro friends, man, I admire what you don't have to take all those notes and do billing and all these things. You guys should just get to the heart of it. And then I know my scope and I have my people I can refer to and network, and it's just fun that way. But anyways, with the games, I just kept chipping away at it. And finally, I guess in some sense, I'm a bigger guy, depending on who comparatively. I'm right now about 220 and 6'2". But I was by far the smallest guy getting into the Highland Games, literally, truly smallest guy evolving up into the top A class, let alone I made my way up to the pro class after doing well at some of these invite games throughout the country, actually, and up into Canada. I had some good connections and ended up throwing well enough and, being a gamer ready to compete kind of thing. But I did bulk up to over 250, and I did get really strong. And then I did kind of break down and was seeing all my labs and all these things. I'm talking to my patients and clients, and I worked multi-purpose area within the hospital from I'd be literally the same day I'd be strength coaching with young elite athletes, and then I'd go in maybe an hour later, basically turn my hat around the other way or put on my dress clothes, and I'm working with elderly, sometimes inpatient care in cardiac rehab, pulmonary rehab, and then working with some PT patients. I got to evolve and kind of somewhat create my own job, but then that got really dry, really dull, and I knew I needed to get out. But the Highland Games just evolved along with that too, and got really burned out, broken down, by my standards, fat and, slow and out of shape, and just I need to reinvent myself. So basically the first guy to go from the pro class to the lightweight class. I'm a very big lightweight. So lightweight for us is 200 pounds. So I decided to evolve or trim down to that lightweight class and do it in a real healthy way over almost a year period. And through well, got invited to the World Championships, set some world records, and then just kept going with that. And kind of now back and forth between classes is kind of cool. And I'm probably most proud of still competing, even though we had a rough year last year and nobody got to compete as much as they'd like to, or probably quite as fired up. So I'm just starting to get fired up about it again and getting invites to the national championships for the open class. And now I'm also a masters athlete. So I earned my way by turning 40 last year. And there's some, I hate to say low hanging fruit, but it just kind of is in some sense. My PRs, my numbers are above those standards. And I did break 2 world records my first time out in masters lightweight class. The open class is still very competitive. I'm still, in top open class. Pro class, I was, struggling just to cover, just to keep up basically, and just trying to stay out of the basement and not finish last sometimes. But I had some wins along the way, and made a little extra coin in the pocket, and just help feed my habit. And ultimately, I love coaching other athletes and a lot of mature Highland Games athletes, or just in general, that person who has. I love that Bill Bowerman quote about there's an athlete, whatever is exactly that athlete in all of us that can come out, and it could be through the Highland Games, it could be something else. Competitively in our area here in Central Oregon, it's very active minded, but it tends to be and I love that too, like mountain biking, snowboarding, the outdoor activities that way. So I'm a little bit on my own world, but I think people at least appreciate it and see that can help shape, just because I'm doing that doesn't mean I'm going to force them into it versus, just getting them prepared for a better holistic life, and realize, hey, maybe you've never done a, box jump more than 24 inches, or you've never snatched a kettlebell and you're 45 years old. Just being the guy that can say, yeah, I can get you there. Or sometimes that's not a good goal for you. You have all these shoulder issues and you're maybe not willing to put in that time. So just at that point in my career with all those pieces from my own, mistakes, my own humble place, I think, along the way, and not being this absolute, beast, elite strength athlete, I really have had to work for it along the way, and had my own, injuries. Part of that story too is I was injured, pretty significantly shoulder wise. I was a pitcher coming out of, junior high into high school, hitting the weight room, and my back and my shoulder, like the first year, even with pretty good coaching and a good base of strength, I was wrecked my whole senior year. So that's a near and dear place for me. You're working with young athletes to say, I just do not want to see anyone go through, suffer from what I did along the way, kind of thing too. So that's been a, definite driving force. And then the senior populations, I'm like, what do I not want to be, when I come? What were the commonalities of the good and bad, or some of the, rehab world? What could use some fixing, or ways I could support that or build that, versus, my own health too along the way, and kind of having a crystal ball into that. Okay, this is what a broken down 70-year-old is. This is what a healthy 70-year-old. So I'm paying attention to those guys more and more. What my elders are doing, what people that are 50 at least. 40 is a good start. Okay, you're healthy, you're athletic, you still have abs, you're 40. I'm starting to pay attention, but to be 50 or beyond and you're still doing that, and you're not just neurotic freak about it or something too, is my, biggest why, I guess, now too. And it's just fun to still be competing and find a way to do it while you're doing, I'm gonna make sure to turn this off here. There we go. Family stuff, and just, that elusive, or that pursuit of something balanced, or something that fits. I think that word balance is a tricky one, and is an illusion for the most part. We're all rebalancing, or I'm putting my chips in over here for now, and there's a season for everything. All those cliches I think are very true. And running my own business and going through COVID, as we've all been through, or still, I guess, technically going through. There's no hard line, I don't think, where it completely stops. And there's a lot of good that's come out of it, as you mentioned too, when we were talking with the evolution of this type of podcast and just the technology and all that cool stuff. Yeah. So I see a lot with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talk me through then the evolution, and maybe not even the evolution, but what is the deeper why. Well, first of all, I want to go back to the quote that you had. There's an athlete in all of us. So just recently, I've I don't really train anybody, but every once in a while, somebody will pay like a pretty significant amount of coin, and I'll write some programming for them for a short season or whatever. And just recently, I've had two mountain hunters that want to be better hunters and want to hunt into their later years. And so, man, like you talk about the athlete, like coming out, not just in sport sometimes, but, sometimes like in this case, it's like to put food on the table. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So yeah, it's true. I see every human as their athletic potential versus whatever they want to see in terms of what they can't do and stuff like that. So I think that's awesome. So then talk me through, obviously strength is a pretty crucial component of kind of how you do what you do. Of course there's empowered strength, and, now it's evolving and forming into this sanctuary of strength. So I guess more into the nuts and bolts of like, if I'm listening and I'm like, okay, well, how do I get either John Odden's programming or how do I get a taste of the sanctuary of strength or this empowered strength? Or, what does that look like? How does that get walked out?
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot we could go into there too, but just a basic fundamental too. And I love that idea too, that hunter, that's my next evolution in some sense, or my idea for that endurance and the really heavy carries and rucking. I love that more than ever too. I'm going to start bow hunting this fall and finally get back to whatever that is, that true next level primal sense, and not just picking up heavy stones in the woods and lifting that, as much as I love that too. But so my again, coming out of the clinical background, coming into my gym setting, I had a lot of good influences in that world, and like the FMS and all this movement, move well, movement quality. I've been so, I guess, influenced. I think it's just in my nature. It made so much sense. I just remember in high school gym class, I really like just being obsessed with technique, being so technique driven, and knowing whatever my body type just didn't evolve. Like I consider myself a true hard gainer or ectomorph, really a little bit of meso twitchy stuff, which, I wouldn't have world records if I didn't have some of that genetic material too. But just being that perpetual, at least borderline, if not true, obsessive student of like, how do I tweak that? So it evolved there. And somewhere I just felt like, am I just lazy? I don't dig all this high intensity HIIT training stuff, this CrossFit stuff. I admire it so much in a sense, in the drive, and just like bodybuilding is its own world too, that discipline. But for me, it's like that true, more, whatever you want to call me, like a strength purist, wanting to really focus on movement quality, not take that away. Not, wreck people, injure people, but also how quickly can we get you really, the word functional is pretty washed out, just like talking about core training and whatever, but I just like to call it useful strength now, or I go back and my new term, I guess I've coined in my new ebook actually that's out is called Odin's Quest for Ancient Strength. So I call it ancient strength, going back to this, again, like primal stuff. What's the history? What's the, people have heard of like the book, Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. I really love that too. Like that stuff's anti-fragile. Like that's been going on for thousands of years versus this new technology, or like my watch says it's time to eat, or my watch says I'm going to train today. I guess I got to stop. I love that stuff. I could geek out on all the gadgets. I use velocity-based training. I get really into the science, but it's becoming more, just like, let's work hard and smart and enjoy this and get outside. And that's where the sanctuary strength came into, and we built out this space on our property. It's a whole evolving process, and now permitting, officially doing this and getting out of my regular brick and mortar space and just saying, I'm putting all my cards in on this physical space. And to a point like you, I'm not training a ton of people. It's very, you call it high end or very high quality immersion coaching. So it's much more, they're paying a premium, but I'm really giving them that physical space to train, usually just once or twice a week. It's very much in, the empowered strength theme is much more empowering you to have the tools and do a lot of it on your own with me guiding you through this. And then that's where the online, using coaching apps and connecting, doing video coaching, on the side too, but just finding a way to wean them off of that. And like within 90 days, okay, you want to get good at these things. Here is your specific goal. It doesn't have to be this high like athlete kind of things. I do work with a handful of real high end athletes. I love doing that, but I also like taking the average underdog Joe geek, computer geek that's really ready. And I do a lot of pre-qualification stuff too. They have to really, be willing to walk that line and put in the effort. But that's why I like that 90-day immersion is my, my jam more than ever. Or I like the troubleshooting, like working, okay, somebody is coming out of physical therapy, doing a couple sessions with them just to hone them in and working with some of our local physical therapists and chiropractors. It's really cool that I can take it. Okay, we're gonna work into this, or maybe your PT didn't get you to that strength level that's really going to bring you up to that place where you want to be or need to be, like that foundation of that real strength, or that ancient strength of being able to. I think one of the perfect examples is having a big yard space. Now, can I really haul a huge tree out? Can I pick up a boulder and carry this? Can I, lift, put things up onto my truck, whatever. Of course, tools are nice too, but, be able to deadlift my lawnmower and pick that thing up and clean something out of there, like a certain amount of this meathead stuff. But it's like, I love being capable to be able to do that and have my clients just share those wins too and say, I'm feeling so much better all around. Hopefully this, that, and the other are not hurting, or of course do no harm is always, that foundation too. But evolving into taking the things they want to do, and hopefully it evolves into even more where, again, that athleticism comes out, like, maybe I could try the Highland Games. And my wife's the perfect example of that too. Former client, of course, the kind of teacher's pet client that just kept going at it. And she's, I think I could say her age is 48, and she's a very petite lady, but she loves the heavy lifting. She's so strong, relatively pound for pound. We just did a strongman competition together, and she loves the Highland Games, but I do it in a very light way. So I kind of brag, if I could still coach her, I think I can coach anyone. I could coach my own wife, and we could train together at least most of the time. I think that's a tricky balance, not for everybody. Sure. And I don't judge if it doesn't work either, but it's pretty cool to be training together. And
that shows a lot about your empathy, though, your ability to listen, your ability, because those are all important aspects of the coaching world. Like if we don't do that, we don't know where our clients want to go. So if you could do that with your wife, like that's huge. Yeah. Huge props on that. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on that quick too, what you said was totally true with the, between the sets and reps. Of course, I want people to have the physical results, but also that mindset, that confidence, so much less into like the body. And I still, I get it. Everybody should or could, find that body type that works or work within their body type, but more on the side of like being as capable and pain-free first. And I don't work with a lot of people doing just like, I just want to lose this vanity weight, or I want to get in shape for this cruise. Like that's just not my ideal client anymore. It's much more that depth of that lifelong pursuit. So if they'll give me 90 days to really go all in and do that work, it's amazing what can come out of that too. And again, and then having other projects has been really fun, just to touch on that. Having through Original Strength, we've collaborated, and Tim Anderson and Danny Almeida, if you're familiar with them at all, and their system's just been awesome.
100%.
Work with them, just genius in their worlds, and how we can combine to talk about all those things and really create programs with all the technology, but still simplicity enough. And that's where this Odin's Quest for Ancient Strength. And I did another program with them called Crash Proof. So it's much more about those athletes who are crashing on their mountain bike, or crashing just, slipping on ice, or things that you probably don't think about. But it's like seeing people lose that ability to be light on their feet and mobile, and basically like that, martial artist meets the, gym guy, and kind of all around. That's my, like, being, for me to feel nimble and be a big cat is kind of my ideal, way of moving, and just, again, being pain-free. Having a back injury at an early age really set me straight, I guess, for better or worse. And I've just always, had that little sensitivity, let's call it, in the background, helping to shape me, keep me in line too. So again, I love the heavy lifting. I love heavy deadlifts, heavy traditional lifts, but it's evolved out of that, and that's where this program has gone to. Using sandbags to do stone lifting, basically get back to that primal sense of not having to go out and actually find these natural stones to lift and, get beat up and hurt yourself maybe. It's so much more approachable to have that sandbag. And I like Atlas stones and everything and that strongman side of things too. But to have your own set of Atlas stones and platform stuff is not as easy to come by, and, putting tacky on your arms and all that. Not too approachable. So I've just found a way with the sandbag to make that really authentic, use all the principles that I've, taken over the years and put that into a nice package with lots of video content. And it's a whole ebook. And I just went all in, and thankfully Tim and Danny saw my vision enough, my craziness to say, hey, this might work. And we're along for the ride. So it's been awesome. And that plays into the Highland Games too. A lot of the Highland Games is actually where I caught the stone lifting bug when I was actually over in Scotland, doing Highland Games, doing a tour over there basically, because they have games sometimes every day of the week. There's like a games week or two in there. And they'll actually have games every day. So you're competing every day. And then they have sometimes these signature like strongman events or these bonus events. And I did well in one of the stone over bar lift to, 5-foot bar, and you can't touch the bar with this, 270 pound stone. And I'm like, wow, there's been less than 20 people in the world who have lifted that thing bare, no tacky, no other accessories. You're just out there in the cold. It's pretty much rains over there. Just like people think of Scotland, it rains a lot over there. So it's wet and cold. And there's this whole historic thing. I have it in the background of right over my shoulder is the map of all the stones of Scotland. And just really caught that bug. And I've just enjoyed like taking the strongman, like what is the competitive world strongest man? Why are they doing that stuff? And then what's the guy that might just need to pick up a boulder in his yard or haul a heavy box into his back of his truck? And where's the middle, safe ground of that? How much can I beat myself up, and and where are the common injuries? And just talking to everybody I could, from that elite athlete side of strongman to average Joes, of like what's missing in the gym training with, picking up shiny, nice handles and everything that's just set at a given height. Like what if, what problem solving in that why of the tools there. So anyways, that's where it's evolved to now. But, getting back in the kettlebell is just such a foundational tool. That's a great lead in that I have used really, consistently. I rarely would have somebody start with a barbell. It would be kettlebells, body weight, and working into other tools or direction, that they want to go somewhat too, but earning their strength, earning their way into the barbell or natural stone lifting. And most people do. Once they see it and like, oh, you actually think I can do that? Or I could kind of quietly go over here and start playing around with this stuff. And same thing with like maces. If people are familiar with the mace, I've taught workshops and worked through that. I'm that guy who will spend at least 6 months to a year, if not longer, before I'll teach anyone, let alone like teach a workshop on something. Like I go all in on things and decide on the value and find my way through it. So that's been fun to do that with these unique tools, I guess you could say, with the maces, Indian clubs, going back to like the Indian, Persian cultures, and then again in through Iceland and Scotland, and who knows? I guess where I'll go next with those tools. And then, of course, there's a lot of commonality to it too, and that again, anti-fragile pieces of that. It's not this new fitness gadget like, hey, that might work. We'll see where the research shows and see what my watch tells me to do or whatever too. It's fun to use that intuitive part, like you were talking about, that mindset and shifting that purpose and making it play-based too. I don't think a lot of strength athletes and badass strength coaches are talking about like, let's make this playful, let's have fun with this. Like, what if training was fun again?
That's 100%. That's absolutely missing. Yeah. So your main thing is your physical property, working with people on a much more intimate level, probably higher end in terms of the fact of how deep you're going and how much time they're spending with you. But then also these other projects like the ebook, which by the release of this should be out, would be my guess, right? And then exactly. And then original strength. I love his stuff. When I had a gym, we had him come out and teach at our
Oh, nice.
gym. And I mean, just incredible work that he's doing. So the fact that you're able to marry with his basic fundamentals, right, of human movement, but then adding in, that ancient strength component and that strength component of lifting odd objects, which, I don't think people understand how important that is just in sort of a basic lifestyle kind of approach.
Yeah.
Like otherwise you're just not going to be able to lift and move around a ton of stuff ever, right? You're going to have to pay somebody to do it or find some other way to get that thing that's there to move to over there. So pretty.
Right. And, stuff like CrossFit has taken it somewhat in that direction, but it's like the extreme side of like bodybuilding. And when I was doing more just bodybuilding, which I consider that anything with, training just to build muscles or just to train, seeing that like, wow, I remember first picking up a 150-pound sandbag and I'm like, whoa, this just feels so awkward and dead. Like this is 150 pounds, I could deadlift well over 500 pounds right now. What the heck's going on? That was just 3 or 4 years ago. So this big like light bulb went off, and I haven't gone back. It's so cool how it maintains. It just has that like what the hell effect of carrying over so much better to those life activities, staying fun, and you can always go back to the barbell, and you'll at least maintain a very high percentage of that. Unless elite athlete wise, I'm not going to have a power lifter and tell them, oh, all you have to do is pick up the sandbag for the next 6 months and your deadlift's going to go up. Like, probably not at that level, but average people or everyday people, it really goes up. Or even, average being me to a point even too, like seeing those other lifts. And again, just having that healthy, balanced body or evolving in ways to get back to that, like Tim talks about in original strength and that reflexive strength, that nature. Oh, how do I problem solve and do that? How does my body be durable and resilient and not that, a guy that has no idea how to even get over the stone and flex his spine a little bit too. Like we're made to do that. We know that's in our DNA for sure.
Yeah. I went through, we actually had Atlas stones and the platforms and all that stuff at our space. Right. And so it's like, no, there's no other way to lift that, but to lift it wrong. Right. It's like, that's how that thing gets up off the floor and gets put on that platform or over that bar. It's like, that's how it happens.
Yeah. It just makes so much sense. You have to experience it to really get it. So I love that you have those pieces in your background too.
So then talk me through, so they could find you through all the crazy stuff and awesome stuff that you're doing on social media, and then probably click through your link tree or your links or whatever that are in your bio or wherever they are, right, on whichever platform that you're on, be it Instagram or Facebook or whatnot. But then also, and right now it's empowered strength. Is that going to change, do you think, or are you going to have a both and where people can get there through empowered strength, but then they can also get there through sanctuary of strength? Or
my main brand or main piece will be under empowered strength, and then the sanctuary strength will be immersion coaching, or even, I didn't talk too much about that destination coaching where people can come and train on site. Like I've just built a sauna. We have 5 acres to train on, this indoor outdoor facility, and all these, everything.
And so they stay there at your place.
Ideally, we're working on that, some of the permitting awesome. And some of that. But by the time this goes out, the goal is to have that ironed out and have more workshops. And I just have so many ideas, and it's hard to find spaces to do that, right? In a gym setting, to be able to throw medicine balls and swing maces around. Sometimes that doesn't always, jive. And to be outside, my other key piece is this hashtag I created, and just kind of a movement, a way of life of training outside every day, getting outside, just experiencing nature. But ideally, can you train, or can I, basically last year, part of every session, partly by default, or I just crave that outdoor thing. Like, how can I bring my barbell outside? Yeah, of course I can. Now more than ever, I can just roll it out the door, because everything, the glass doors just slide open. I have that kind of space. And it's, we get all different weather. It'll be well below freezing in the winter. We could have 4 feet of snow. Day like today, it's 90 degrees out there. It's nothing like you're probably experiencing, but it can really vary. So enough of that tempering, again, common sense into it. It's not just glorified, or suffering just to suffer. It's got to have that purpose. But the
Yeah.
sun, go on and on about all those environmental conditioning. I do a lot of cold exposure, ice bath, Wim Hof type of stuff too.
Yeah.
I built a barrel. I'm just going to post about that now too. But all those tools just make so much sense to give people outside of just, like you said, too, the nuts and bolts of training. How can that evolve within it? And what are these other tools? Of course, everybody knows sleep and diet and, being able to, immerse into that and really them giving me their all and I can give them my all, because I'm not trying to do, $99 memberships and have a class of 25 people and like, oh, you're going to get everything you need out of that. And like, no, I don't really believe that. I know that's not true generally. Nothing knocking those guys, but you get what you put in and you get what you pay for. And to be able to come here and actually train in person, or at least dive in really deep online and have some really clear objectives and just ways I can work with their lifestyle and understand, especially men, in that 35 to 50 range is really my jam. And I am one. So it's easier for me to see, okay, you have these other things. You're a busy guy. What's realistic for you? You can't follow a cookie cutter program and get that, or you can't follow what the world's strongest man is training for, or you can't follow what, some HIIT class is doing to maximize your strength and movement quality. And I just, athleticism is probably still the best word for that. That means a lot of things to different people, but that's what I consider it, that all around athleticism with maybe a couple specific areas. Like I want to get really good at swinging this mace, or I want to really good, like you said, about hunting. I want to be that guy that can haul the elk out of the woods and just, have no trouble hiking for hours at a time with a big pack, or hauling that hind quarter over my shoulder or something. That's the real, man strength. I hate to get too meathead, too man side of things, but it's what it is. It can be primal. Human.
To go from your point that you made earlier, right? And Nassim Taleb's book, right? I think we, through creature comforts and convenience, which we've done a great job of setting ourselves up for success, we've gotten fragile, right? Fragility is at an all-time high, at least here in the U.S., right? We can for sure say that about our United States. And I think we're starting to realize that how fragile we are. And so to have somebody like yourself be able to step in the gap and go, look, I'm not going to try to fake you into believing that, all you got to do is spend 3 1-hour sessions a day and you're going to be perfectly anti-fragile. There's a lot more going on here than just, getting a base of strength or just building conditioning. I mean, it's like thermoregulation and, all the stuff that you're talking about. I think that is 100% like you've dialed into really what our biggest problem is as humanity, at least in this nation, if not maybe the entire world. And then, hey, let me give you let me give you the John Odden solution, right? Let me give you the sanctuary of strength solution. I think that's pretty freaking incredible. So we finish our show with a question. What is LivingFit? And so obviously not LivingFit the brand, but LivingFit, like this idea, like, or this process or this thing. Yeah. So, what is LivingFit to John Odden?
It's definitely all those things I touched on, just to go back to that a little bit too. It's that sustainable, healthy, enjoying that process at least most of the time, or deciding, I'm going after this world record. This is going to be a grind. I may hurt myself. I may, be willing to navigate that. And it's definitely having coaching, having a tribe around you too. You're not just doing it in vain for, just to look good. I hope it's serving a greater purpose. You're a useful human. You can save a life. You can, choose to do and live your best. And I think people need to share it. That tribe, or at least somehow teaching others, whether you feel like that's in your nature or you feel you're qualified or not. Of course, that's maybe a line to decipher too. But really teaching it, of course, is the highest form of that cycle of life and learning and all that too. But and my battery for some reason is not charging, so this is about to die too. So I need to either wrap up, or I can try to find my charger, unfortunately.
No, that's perfect. And so, you want to so living fit to you is like understanding the cycle of life, right? And being like an active participant so that you can continue that cycle of life and be able to continue that or help another person have that. Did I get that right? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that summarizes it well. And again, deciding like if I'm going all in on something, I have to be willing to maybe pay that price or decide, you only live once. I don't want to play it. I think it can get a little bit too safe. Like, I'm just totally fine where I am. I just want to live, I just want to be healthy. I hear that all the time. I just want to feel good and be healthy. Like, yeah, but what if there's a little more than that? Or what if you can reach out, for me, figuring out the safe dose in the Highland Games, what's enough where I can still keep competing at, high, very competitive. So a competitive level and not completely, burn out myself and be a bad parent or be a bad husband, all that stuff, run my business, be the best coach I can be. So for me, it lives on in the coaching ultimately too. So being, ultimate living fit too is that coaching component. So just finding all those pockets and then being a perpetual student, I'm never bored. There's 10 things on my list that I want to learn about still. And I'm over 20 years into this field. Yeah. I'm just a kid and it's not slowing down. It's growing. If anything, I have more that I want to do. So that's where, I just know I'm in the right place. And if people get that, and that's where my clients and my students and friends, it's infectious when you have that and you do it from a caring place and, enough of that confident place without the big ego coming in. And this is the only way to do it, that kind of thing too. So anyways, I might lose you here. So I hate to.
No, that was great, man. That was great. We're stoked to have you. I appreciate all of the words of wisdom, the great and fearless John Odden.
Hey, for more interviews like that, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're looking for not only those interviews, but follow along programs, exercise breakdowns, workouts, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for your fitness results, make sure you hop on to Living.Fit, become a member today, and I'll see you on the next one.